You're free to begin. Go ahead.
Call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome Lorna Wills, the alternate from Loyalist Township, and Ken Hook, the alternate from Addington Highlands. Need a motion to adopt the minutes of the March 22nd meeting. Councillor Wise, Councillor Richardson. Any errors or none noted? All in favor? That's carried. Approval of the agenda with the addendum that was added. Councillor Davison, second by Councillor Hagedorn. Any additional items? Ready for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. None noted. Warden's report. Need a motion to receive. Councillor Hagedorn, second by Councillor Wise. All in favor? That's carried. Matters for consideration. John M. Parrott Center Service Accountability Agreement. Ms. Malcolm.
I have nothing particularly to add. This is how we have our funding go through the home, and so it's an annual agreement. There's no big surprises in this. Happy to answer any questions, though.
Okay, is there any questions? If not, we've got a recommendation. A motion to receive and adopt. Councillor Davison, second by Councillor Calver. Ready for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Disraeli Street window replacement.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, I just would like to add that the price is relatively lower than our estimate, and that came in a positive way. But it's basically because the contractor is a supplier, like a supplier manufacturer, so they can save on costs, and all they do is condominium and like group housing type replacement. So this is the only type of projects that they do, so they're able to streamline their costs. I'll be happy to answer any questions should the council have any.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Wager? If not, we've got a staff report and a recommendation. I need a motion to receive and adopt. Councillor Wise, Councillor Richardson. Any questions? Ready for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. County Road reconstruction. Once again, Mr. Wager.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Warden. Just one slight change that I'd like to highlight. The county's cost, as shown in the financial impact of $3,584,000, should actually be a little bit less. We actually have to reduce the Part C of the Bells portion of $37,220. So we're doing a joint project. Bell Canada wants to put some work in and some conduit, so they're actually paying for that, but having our contractor do it. So although it doesn't change the recommendation, it just actually reduces our cost a little bit more. I'll be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Does anyone have questions? Councillor Wise.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris, what, if any, were the concerns raised at the public meeting, or any comments that residents had?
Speed was a concern, and we're hopefully going to address that by narrowing the roads. Like that's our design does narrow the road by a foot in either lane, so it's 2 feet total. We have found that when you narrow a roadway, especially through an urban area and using curb, that tends to slow traffic down by an additional 10%. So that's the one concern. The sidewalk on the east side of Canada Road 4 along Canada Road 1, we had to purchase some property there because the existing sidewalk is actually, we found during the design, is actually on private property. So we had to deal with the residents there, and there were some minor concerns about loss of property value and whatnot. But we now have an agreement with all the landowners and have started the purchase of that property. So we feel that concern has been addressed. And then we also had concerns from the business at the greenhouse that rents property from the McCormick store. In discussions with that individual, because of the timing of their business being like, June primary is their best window. We will discuss with the contractor, startup times, and ideally they have to start at the low end of the pipe and work their way upstream just so they can get positive flow, and it's easier to construct that way. So they're going to start in at the bridge and then move south. And then again, if it were me, I'd be doing my long run, so I'd start back at the intersection and head west towards Napanee, therefore leaving their section with a greenhouse to the last. We will confirm that with the contractor once we have a startup meeting. Dust was another issue because they have to open up the greenhouse, which is, if anyone knows the area, it's about 10 feet from the back of the curb. It's relatively close. If we have to, the contractor can put up some dust screens and deal with that. But and the other concern they had was access, and there'll be maintained access to all their property at all times. So there will be one, maybe two entrances that are closed down, but there's 4 on that property. So hopefully that addresses his concerns. I know he's not happy, but it's the best we can do at this time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we've got a staff report. I need a motion to receive and adopt the recommendation. Councillor Hagedorn, Councillor Wise, any comments? If not, ready for the vote. All in favor? That is carried. 2023 Surface Treatment Program. Mr. Wager.
Yeah, through you again. I don't have anything to add or highlight to this report. I'll be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Anyone have questions on that report? If not, I need a motion to receive and adopt the recommendation. Councillor Wills, seconded by Councillor Calver. Any comments? All in favor? That's carried. Excavation and temporary occupancy.
Thanks again, Mr. Warden. We have an excavation permit, and that's to allow anyone who wants to dig or connect to our ditching, or if it's a utility or a municipality that they want to put a storm sewer in or water main. So we have that permit that allows that, but we don't have someone to put like a recycling or garbage bin or put some fencing if they want to address the front of their building or the front of their house. So this issue came up with the dollar store in downtown Napanee. We didn't really have a permit to address their needs. They wanted to close off some sidewalk and to protect the face of the building that they're restoring. And then now they also have a couple parking stalls blocked off. But anyway, this allows us to actually have an issue in an excavation and occupancy. So if someone wants to, park something temporary in our within our right-of-way, we can do this, and then we pass it on to the lower tier to provide comments as well. But it just covers us from liability, and so we're aware of anything in our right-of-way. I'll be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Anyone have questions on this? If not, I need a motion to receive the report. Councillor Wise, Councillor Richardson, ready for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Utility activity on rights of way.
Thank you again. So this is a municipal consent permit. Staff is doing a great job of going back and looking at all of our bylaws and policies, and we happen to dig this one up since 1953. It still works, but it was very limited. It didn't talk about traffic control or restoration, offsets, anything to do with the applications or permitting, and it didn't even address abandoning and decommissioning. So a lot of our stuff in our right-of-ways is still there, and there's no responsibility to locate that or dig it up. And now with this bylaw, there's that covers that. And again, it just gives us more protection and a little bit more control to control the utilities that go within our right-of-way. happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have questions on this report? I need a motion to receive the report. Councillor Davison, seconded by Councillor Calver. Any questions, comments? Ready for the vote. All in favor? And that's carried. Napanee Ambulance Station roof replacement.
Thank you, and this is my last one before I have to turn it over to Stephen.
You're busy.
through you, Mr. Warden. Yeah, so this came in over our budget, unfortunately. We looked at a bunch of options to reduce costs, from shingles to a lower gauge steel. Unfortunately, those methods wouldn't give us the lifespan or the cost value, if you will, for the install. Staff's recommending the higher cost at the 149, which was quoted like that. That's the one that we did tender. But we do have savings through the windows portion and other capital projects that we hope will offset these overages. I'd be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Anyone have questions? Mr. Davison?
If steel was that far out of price, was it that we couldn't afford it, Chris? Steel's a 50-year roof, right?
This is steel. This is the thicker gauge steel. Yeah, we have shingles there now, and
I was sure, I thought I read it was asphalt, but fine, thank you. The old one is asphalt.
the old one's asphalt. The new ones, I believe it's even a 26 gauge steel, which is better than the 28, or vice versa. But anyway, yeah, it's the better steel, if you will. We'll get the longer life. The 26 gauge was just a couple $1,000s cheaper than the 28 was a little bit cheaper than the 26. So
Thanks,
26.
Chris. My fault for not reading it well.
Any other questions? You've got a staff report and a recommendation. Councillor Calver, Councillor Hagedorn. Any questions? Ready for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Community Improvement Plan for Latham Pools.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. So just a little bit of background information, I guess, to begin with. Firstly, with respect to community improvement plans, those are valuable economic development tools, and one of the most valuable part of that toolbox is a program called the Tax Incremental Equivalent Grant Program, whereby a lower tier municipality can provide a grant to offset property taxes over a 4-year time period to really help with startup costs and the scaling up of those businesses. So based on that, in June of last year, Loyalist Township approved their industrial CIP, which did include a tax incremental equivalent grant program. And then just prior to that, County Council in May passed the resolution that would indicate that they would support the development of the Loyalist CIP and also participation in the industrial tax program based on a project-by-project basis. So we're here tonight with a project that, of course, is taking place in Loyalist Township at Latham Pools. They will be fairly shortly having occupancy at their location, about 160,000 square feet, 100 jobs that will be created. And that 100 jobs was the cutoff, in a sense, or the incentive for County Council to look at approving a tax grant to the actual business itself. So again, the threshold would be 100 jobs. So again, more information with regards to this. The County Council would have the ability to actually support the Loyalist Township TEAG, so the Incremental Grant Program. And by doing that, funding would then go from the municipality, being the county, directly to the local municipality to support that grant program, meaning that all county taxes would be part of the grant program itself. So an application was received by Loyalist Township from Latham Pools. That was approved by Loyalist Township Council. And now we're here tonight to really move on to the next step, which is County Council to approve participation in that grant program to support the Latham project taking place in Loyalist. So hopefully I was able to explain that properly. What we're asking for tonight is the recommendation being that, of course, the report's noted and received, that Lennox and Addington County participates in the Loyalist Township Industrial Tax Incremental Equivalent Grant Program, and that the county would contribute a grant to Loyalist Township that is equal to the calculated portion of the grant for Latham Pools over a 4-year period. So again, it's 100% in year 1, 75% in year 2, 50% in year 3, 25% in year 4, and then as of year 5, no grant, and 100% of the tax is coming back to both the municipalities. So I'll be happy to answer any questions or clarification with regards to that.
Does anyone have questions of Mr. Paul? Councillor Wise.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Stephen, how is the employment level monitored through the 4-year period?
Yeah, it's that'll be a responsibility of Loyalist Township. So there will be an agreement that'll be put in place between Latham Pools and Loyalist Township with certain terms as part of that. So Loyalist will be monitoring that over that 4-year period, and they do need to meet those objectives that would be laid out in that agreement. So again, we as a county would take the lead, or sorry, we would follow Loyalist Township, would take the lead on the agreement and ensuring that all those terms and conditions are taken care of over that 4-year period as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we've got a staff report and a recommendation. Councillor Davison, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any questions or comments? If not, ready for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And now we've got an addendum on the industrial community improvement plans. Mr.
Yes,
Paul.
yeah, thank you. So this follows along the theme of the last report. And the recommendation in front of you is that council supports the development of an industrial community improvement plan and a TEAG program in the town of Greater Napanee and the township of Stone Mills, as this will result in a competitive economic development advantage for Lennox and Addington County. So again, further to what I spoke about with regards to the Loyalist Township CIP, this would be municipalities looking to do a similar setup to what Loyalist has done, and how that would create an incentive program and really an economic development competitive landscape for our municipalities that have industrial land within Lennox and Addington County. So we're asking for County Council's support tonight on the movement forward of those programs, with the, I guess, future looking ahead, that we would then potentially have a similar type report like I just presented on Latham Pools that could be coming from Stone Mills or Napanee, if they again meet the investment thresholds that will be in place. And I would say that the last piece of this in the recommendation is the fact that, of course, this is contingent on both Greater Napanee and Stone Mills councils approving a TEAG program and a Loyalist, sorry, I'm getting my Loyalists and everything mixed up, an industrial CIP with all the acronyms. So again, it's all very much contingent on the work that will be done by our partners at both those municipalities. And so happy to answer any questions with regards to that.
Brenda, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we just wanted to apologize for the addendum and the late addition, but there were reasons for that. I'll let Stephen explain, but we typically don't surprise you with something the day of, but it was an item that couldn't wait until your May meeting, and that's why it was added on as a late addition. But Stephen, you might want to explain as much as you can.
No,
explain.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's very much a competitive landscape in Ontario right now, with business traction, business retention programs that are happening. It's a good space right now in Ontario, and we're very active in leads and inquiries. And what we're seeing is that as there are multiple leads, it's again a landscape that's extremely competitive. So we need to position ourselves so that we can provide similar incentive programs, similar value-added programs that our competitors are doing. So that's really, really key that we compete in that same landscape in this program, across our municipalities will help us to do that. And it's just another tool to be successful.
Anyone have any questions on this? Jim? Councillor Hagedorn.
So just to clarify, Stone Mills and Napanee don't have the CIP in place yet, but if they do, we will already have approved to partner with them on it. Is that it?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Once again, we've got a staff report and some recommendations. Councillor Wise, Councillor Richardson. Any further comments? Ready for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Next, we've got COVID-19 Human Resources Policy.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Trina is on vacation, a well-deserved vacation, so I'm going to speak to this. We feel we're at the point where we should lift the requirement for the 2 vaccines for all of our general employees, but still maintain it for the John and Parrott Center and for the paramedic service because they're providing healthcare services. So this is just a recommendation because the original policy came to council that you give the go-ahead for that to take place, but to keep it for John and Parrott and paramedics. But if you're of the mind to delegate it to the CAO so that when the time comes where we feel we can lift it from healthcare, we could just do so, or we could bring it back to you if you wish. But we do think it's time that we could lift that requirement. It served its purpose for the time when we needed it to, but nowadays most people have 4 or 5 vaccines, not 1 and 2.
Anyone have any questions on that report? If not, I need a motion to receive and adopt. Councillor Calver, Councillor Hook. Any further comments? All in favor? And that is carried. Advisory Committee recommendations and reports. Technical Advisory Committee, Roads and Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Don't have much to highlight in the report other than the equipment rate review. Staff brought a report to council, I believe in January, might even been February, with a new contract for a 3-year term with the municipalities. We've been getting support from that from staff, and those agreements are coming back signed. Napanee just approved theirs recently at Tuesday night's council meeting. Just want to give you a little bit of overview on how the changes of that agreement and how it came to be, just in case council does get some questions from residents or their staff. So historically, we had a $5,800 per kilometer compensation rate, and that was increased based on CPI. With the changes in inflation, construction costs, replacement parts, the local municipalities thought that we needed to adjust that. So, sorry, let me step back. We're also, even though that's a flat rate that we use as a baseline, we didn't actually pay that. We paid whatever your invoices were to us based on an hourly rate. And if you got to within, so we gave you the $5,800 per kilometer quarterly throughout the year, and if you reached 90% of that amount, you got to keep the rest. And if you went over 110, well, then we'd pay whatever you went over. So 100. So if you went to 112, we'd pay 112% of your invoice, the full amount. That's something just that the treasurers want. It's a little bit easier. You got to look at every year, just up and down, and it just saves writing checks back and forth from municipality to municipality because there's one taxpayer. That said, we were using 70% of the OPS 127 rates. That was what was recommended by contractors in the area, as well as other municipalities that use the same methodology, and the TAC committee at the time. In 2022, they changed the OPS 127 rates, and some of them, although increased a little bit, others were kind of lowered a little bit. But the overall understanding is that 90% of the OPS 127 rates is a fair rate for compensation at this time, based on the information that the municipalities have. So not all of our municipalities have the data to say, when we bought this machine to the time that we're using it now, this is exactly what we need per dollar to get the offset of that. The OPS 127 rates, if we use that, it includes maintenance, parts, fuel, hydraulic fluid, tires, everything, as well as profit. So assuming that 10% profit on the OPS 127 rates, that's what our TAC agreed on. And that's, if you see the first spreadsheet there, showing the graph and of the rates, and then there's just a small comparison. I just used Napanee because that was the question at council. Napanee has, of all the roads that are in Napanee, 36% of them are county, 64% are the towns. Our budget for our portion was 41. Now we ended up through the cost. Now this is just for winter maintenance, if you will, because that's the only data that we have through the AVL. That cost was $3,657, and the town's budget for their roads was $1,917 per kilometer. Now, so that looks like it's a little bit high in 2021, but it's really not. I think it is a little bit fair. We have higher class roads, and we need to provide a little bit more maintenance and snow plowing on those roads. So when the snow does come, you'll see that county roads are plowed first, and then maybe once or twice before they get onto the township roads. Now, some of those township roads might need an extra trip to be cleaned up, where if you have a high volume traffic on a county road such as 41 or County Road 2, then it's a little bit easier and the traffic kind of burns it off. But it's really comparing apples to oranges. So I just wanted to identify that, but really what we need is ongoing data from the municipalities that track fuel costs, that track the repairs and track purchase price, so that we can come to an understanding that maybe 90% of the OPS 127 rates, it could be too low, and maybe we go to 100%, or maybe it's too high and we go to 80. I don't know, but as a group, the TAC committee agreed that at this time the 90% seems reasonable. And if we switch to the next chart, the next slide, that's just a comparison based on the current 2023 rates that are in the new agreement. So if OPS 127 changes next year or the year after, the agreement automatically upgrades to the new rates. The items, this is the typical items that we'd use in the county right-of-way from the municipalities. Items 1 through 6, 1 through 5 type thing. That's probably 80% of the actual, the work being done. The excavators and the pickups, and like, they're not really used too much on the county roads. Typically it's your plows and your tractors, your mowers, your graders, your rollers, and your tractor backhoe or your loaders. So comparing to the city of Kingston, it looks like we're pretty good. You know, it's a couple dollars here or there, but our TAC committee really believes that at this time, with the data we have, that the 90% of the OPS 127 rates is fair, or appears to be fair at this time. I'd be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Wager? Mr. Richardson?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I saw, and I'm just taking from the information you provided for us, Chris, is the information that the lower tiers are providing to the county, is that information different at each lower tier, or are you getting the exact same information from each lower tier? I don't know if I've worded that right, but I think you probably get where I'm going with it, I guess.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of information from either municipality. It's basically, here's what we spent in winter maintenance, here's what we spent in hardtop maintenance, here's what we spent in debris removal, here's what we spent in signs, and it's just basically, if I go back to the other chart, we just get a total for those numbers. Like, we don't get X trucks in certain hours, like we don't get the full breakdowns. We're just taking your word for it. Like, we have a great cooperation, and you know, we're all one taxpayer. So the goal is we don't want to pay too much, but we want to make sure we're paying equitable, because we don't want your taxpayers to offset county roads, but we don't want to inflate our costs too much, because again, we have one taxpayer. So if our operation costs go up, say 20%, if everyone if you're billing us equally to what your costs are, well, then your operation cost should go up 20% as well. So I just want to make sure that, all costs are being justified, and we're not artificially inflating our operation cost on the taxpayers. But honestly, we don't get a lot of information from any municipality.
And just to follow up, Mr. Warden, would it be to your advantage, would it help if we did provide better information, or are you satisfied with the information we're providing now, I guess is, we just want to make sure that we can make this thing work, so I'm just trying to figure out whether, if we have the ability to provide more information, is it more helpful, or are you satisfied with the information in the state that we're providing now? Are you good with that?
So the information that we get, it doesn't identify what works were done. So if there's shoulder grading or patching, we actually don't have like a work order or a record of when, where, maybe it took 2 hours, maybe it took 8 hours, I don't know. But we just don't have that information. Through our asset management software, that's that partnership that we're working on. Remember the one where we're buying the software? Supply it to you guys, and you guys just pay if there's minor tweaks to match your finance software, that type of thing. Through that, we'll be able to create work orders and really track data. So your managers, your supervisors can say, oh, well, this is what we did today, this many staff, this is here. And it's like timesheets, it's everything rolled into one. And it's meant to cut down staff time as well as keep a record for us, because under the minimum maintenance standards, we have so much time to respond to edge drop off, to potholes, and it's all varies, right? So right now we don't have a record of that, and this will actually help give us a record of when we become aware of a situation, when we fixed it, or how long it took us to fix it, and the date it was completed on, and therefore that helps us against liability issues and if there's a claim against the county, and same with municipalities. It just gives us further documentation as to what works were performed and when.
No, thank you very much.
Anyone have any further questions? If not, I need a motion to receive the Technical Advisory Committee report. Councillor Hagedorn, Councillor Wise. Further questions or comments? Councillor Hagedorn.
Excuse me. I was just going to comment briefly on Mr. Wager's presentation. I think, to me, it seems like a fair agreement, and it's pretty much an industry standard to use this type of agreement. The numbers can be, massaged over the years if we find that there's anomalies or something isn't being captured. That can always be brought into it. And even items like the overruns and underruns, and the rolling data, that's the standard, industry standard, to the best of my knowledge, and that's been my life. So I think that we're on the right track, and we probably just need more data to verify that it is accurate, and everyone is being equally compensated to move forward. And actually, the more data, to Councillor Richardson's question about providing more data, the one thing that I was thinking is the more data we can give, the better planning that can be done, because I have found that if we find that there's a lot of maintenance costs going into one area, then you automatically turn and look at that to find out why, because it may be time for capital project or some more significant maintenance, because there's probably a deterioration that just hasn't been caught in the overall review for updating construction roads projects. Thank you.
We've got to move her in a second, haven't we? Any other questions? Ready for the vote? All those in favor? That's carried. Accessibility Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd just like to highlight that the committee reviewed 2 grant applications. One was for Addington Highlands, putting in a grant for an accessible playground, and the other was from the county, putting in a grant application for some walkways at the back to have them paved of the courthouse campus. And the committee did support both of those and do letters of support. But I'd be pleased to answer any questions council may have.
Anyone have any questions on the accessibility committee? If not, I need a motion to receive the minutes. Councillor Hook, seconded by Councillor Calver. Any comments? Ready for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, Emergency Services Advisory Committee.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I have nothing to add to the minutes. I'm available for questions.
Anyone have any questions on this report? Councillor Calver.
It's ham radio. Yeah. Sorry, was it a typo?
Yeah, I said ham. I was trying to figure out what ham radio was.
Thank you.
If no further questions, I need a motion to receive the minutes. Councillor Wise, second by Councillor Calver. All in favor? That's carried. Sean M. Parrott Center Compliance Report. Ms. Malcolm.
Through you, Mr. Warden. I'll walk you through the report as is required with the Fixing Long-Term Care Act. So the occupancy rates in that chart, I've now added respite days, so I'll just bring that to your attention. We haven't had our respite bed in use until just recently, so you'll now see how many days we're using that per month. So it's nice that we're able to offer that service to people in the community who need some relief. For our case mix index under the staffing, this is something that has been, or through the pandemic, had been a frozen dollar figure. This is how we receive our funding for the nursing and personal care envelope. So this was announced on March 31st and took effect April 1st. And the assessments that this is based on, our resident assessments that this funding is based on, is from April of 2021 to March of 2022. So this is one of the problems with the case mix index, is that it's on old data. So almost a year old, actually is a year old now, of data that we are receiving our funding for. This is the top advocacy that Advantage is going to be doing as a priority for 2023-24 to try to eliminate the concept of CMI. It's a very unstable process in which to finance people's nursing department, and it's quite an archaic system. The ministry has committed to review this and speak to long-term care homes about this over the 2023 to see what can be done, but we were one of the fortunate homes. Many homes lost out on this funding and saw a reduction in their CMI. We saw a slight increase, but it's just simply not representative of the client population that we currently have. Under the quality section, which is your colorful chart there, you will see that out of the 7 indicators, 5 we are consistently seeing an increase in, or an improvement, I guess I should say, an improvement in the figure, which is really wonderful. I'm really happy to see the has fallen indicator continue to decline because this is one of our targets that we are focused on this year. I've put in there the next steps and opportunities, so you see that we have our allied health funding that we are utilizing for music therapy and for social work, and we're hoping that those 2 alternative therapies will help our has worsened pain indicator, which is quite a bit higher than the provincial benchmark. We did have an inspection from the Ministry of Long-Term Care. They come in unannounced, sometimes as a result of a complaint or a ministry critical incident that we have filed, or they could come in for an annual inspection. On this occasion, they arrived on March 31st and stayed for 4 days. This was a follow-up on 3 falls that we had submitted and 1 complaint. They inspected under the protocols of falls, infection and prevention and control, which is a standard one that they would inspect on, and then prevention of abuse and neglect. It is attached to the report, and you can see that there are no findings. Everything was in order and in compliance according to the ministry. Under infection, there has been, or IPAC, there has been significant changes that took effect March 31st. So we now no longer have to do daily rapid antigen testing for people coming into the home. We are continuing to have rapid antigen testing by staff on a daily basis, but we do not require it for any other persons. It is available should they wish to, and there are families that continue to do so, but it isn't required. And then they can also take off their masks if they are in a room one-on-one with a resident, and they can also eat in our Gibbard family dining rooms with their loved one if they wish to do that. I don't think I'll highlight anything else, but happy to take any questions should you have them.
Does anyone have questions of Ms. Malcolm? If not, I need a motion to receive the report. Councillor Richardson, Councillor Hagedorn. Any further questions? All in favor? That's carried. Committee reports by members of council. Does any member of council have a committee report that they wish to highlight? If not, we'll go on to, Councillor Davison.
Just like to report that the Economic Development Committee has 3 vacancies, and Director Paul is posted for those vacancies.
Good, thank you. Any others? If not, we'll go on to County Department activity reports. Administration.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things I want to highlight for you. You recall at our last council meeting, we had the consideration of the Wildscapes, the property that Wildscapes was looking to build on beside the hospital, which wasn't desirable, but we were successfully able to do a pivot. And I'd just like to thank Sue Weir from Interval House and Barb Fabius from Community Living and Lynn for her help working with Wildscapes. So we were able to pivot that and have Wildscapes submit for a property that would, if they were successful in getting CMHC funding, and that is a big if, but if they were successful, would see free affordable housing being built for a combination, a certain number of units for Interval House and a certain number for Community Living here in Napanee. That's a big if because it is a submission process, but I'm just happy that we were able to have a submission from the county. Well, it's not from the county, it's not from us. There was only a 2-week turnaround time because the deadline for CMHC was April 13th. So we wouldn't have had time to bring something else back to County Council. So it was very fast footwork we did, but so fingers crossed for them. So that would be good. Any affordable housing is good affordable housing, so that's good. And just wanted to thank the directors for their great work and all of you when you were at your lower tier rooms for the strategic planning open house. So I'm putting a plug out in case there's any public watching tonight to suggest they might want to go back to our website to view that session. We're doing our county strategic plan on May 10th, and we really wanted to make sure that our taxpayers understood the different services that we provide at the county level, because it is very different than lower tiers, and we think a lot of folks don't even realize that we're here. So we wanted to make sure they understood the services we provide and some of the challenges, what the province controls versus what we control, and some opportunities for the future, so that if they wanted to pass on their thoughts or priorities to you as county council, they would have time to do so before May 10th. So that was our goal, was to just to get folks' attention, help educate them a bit on what we do, and lay the groundwork for them to give you feedback if they chose to. We didn't have a great attendance in person, but kind of expected that might be the case. We at least are proud that we offered it to people, and hoping that lots of people watch it online, and that if they do have strong feelings, that they share them with you to set the stage for May 10th. And the last thing I'll point out is the two documents that I've attached from CAMA, the Strong Mayors Task Force, the Strong Mayors White Paper that I was able to participate in. So it's such great work and such a great document. Really helps people understand the importance of unbiased reports from your staff. And I'll just leave that thought with you. I can sum up that white paper in one sentence. And as well, the other leadership guide, I really liked, if you want to look at that press release, it notes Lennox and Addington County. I always liked when that goes out nationally. And that's it. I'll happy to take any questions.
Anyone have questions of Ms. Orchard? If not, we'll go on to financial services. Mr. Day.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. I would like to highlight in the report that the county's budget flyer insert tax is in your agenda. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. I'd like to acknowledge Beth Riedman's coordinating and getting this together, and also for the lower tiers in distributing it with their tax bill. So I hope you are happy with that, and I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Does anyone have questions on the financial services report? If not, we go on to social services.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I don't have any new information or anything to highlight from the report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have questions of Ms. Chenier? If not, we'll go on to community services.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple notes. Firstly, with regards to our library circulation, this past month in March, we had just under 20,000 items that were checked out. And I guess what was really pleasing, and I know our staff are really proud, is that's taken us back to pre-pandemic numbers. So that's a number equivalent to 2019. It's taken us a while to get back there, but with the work of staff and the great work of staff, we're back to that point and growing. So exciting news for our library group. I guess a couple other things. One with respect to planning. There's been quite a bit of work done over the last 2 weeks on our DAP project update. So we're in the process right now of building our building permits, and we have sessions with staff from the local municipalities over the next 2 weeks to really dig deep in the work that's been done and do some testing of the application work. And then there is a note that there will be a report coming forward with regards to an extension of a draft approval for the Warner Pastures subdivision, which is located in Stone Mills. So council will be seeing that sometime in the next month. I would expect it'll be on the May council agenda. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have questions of Mr. Paul? John? Councillor Wise?
Yes, thank you, Warden. Stephen, what's the requirement for a renewal interval? How long before they have to reapply?
I believe, I'm sorry, I'm going back in my memory banks. I think the last one was 3 years, Councillor Wise, that was approved by County Council. I can clarify that though, and can get back to you with regards to that exact timing. Yeah,
Yeah, but 3
yeah,
years.
but I think this will be the third extension that we've granted from the county's perspective over the life of that draft plan of subdivision.
Right. Previously, it was the township that dealt with those.
That's correct. Yeah.
Was there any indication that they're thinking of acting on the draft plan, or?
It does. I mean, our planner has been, working directly with Jason from Stone Mills as well as the developer. And the last I spoke to Anna, she says it does look promising. They have submitted some changes that we're reviewing right now, and those would be part of the renewal process. But I would say, if you're looking at the last 3 to 4 years, it's certainly more promising than what it's ever been. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions? If not, we'll go on to long-term care.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. As you can see, the Fixing Long-Term Care Act, this is the phase 2, so the second stage of the Fixing Long-Term Care. It was finalized on April 6th, and we received it, oh my goodness. We received it on April 6th, and it took effect April 11th. The three main areas I've highlighted in bold there for you. We are still waiting on the staffing qualifications for as far as clarity goes from the ministry, which is, I suspect, why they have extended it an additional 6 months to November for us to decide whether we wish to do that. Those staffing qualifications were largely related to dietary department. Some odd reductions in their qualifications, which does strike me as not terribly safe at this point. So I'm hopeful that some further clarity will improve that situation. The medication management for the Parrott Center is there's going to be no changes in terms of a PSW giving medications. The registered staff, we're not in a position where we are needing to do that with our registered staff. We're in a much better position than some other homes are. And so there will be no PSWs administering medications to residents. And we currently do list our medications for, as far as adverse effects, on our medication profile at the present time for all as necessary medications. So this will be for routine medications, which is a new addition as well. And other than that, I will highlight the Napanee District High School created this fantastic garden bed, raised garden bed that they designed themselves. They costed it out. It was a really wonderful partnership, and we were really happy to participate with that. That's all. Happy to take questions.
Anyone have questions of Ms. Malcolm? If not, we go on to John, sorry.
Yes, that's okay. Thank you, Henry. Yeah, Angela, I was a little concerned when I noted that qualifications for staff were being reduced. That doesn't mean we can't maintain our own particular standard when we hire. Is that correct?
Yes, so homes can choose whether they wish to lower their standards or not. So yes, that's wonderful news.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, on to emergency services.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Warden, I don't have anything to add. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's had the opportunity to see the good news story with our paramedic Langale that has been, who's an Army reservist and has been deployed to Latvia, and she was very thankful to us for allowing her that leave. So that's all I have, and I'm available for any questions.
Anyone have questions of emergency services? If not, human resources, well, Trina's not here, so. Ms. Orchard.
I have nothing to add, but I'm happy to answer or try to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have questions on the human resources report? If not, we go on to infrastructure services.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just would like to, I guess, confirm under the roads and bridges that GIP paving will be commencing works on County Road 9 as of May 8th. Staff just met with them today for a startup meeting. Works will start with blasting work, so they're not going to be directly on the roadway. But once works does get underway, they will be maintaining one lane of traffic. And works on County Road 28 will commence in Loyalist on right after the long weekend in May. Be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Wager? If not, I need a motion to receive all of the staff reports. Councillor Davison, seconded by Councillor Wise. Any further questions? All in favor? That's carried. Resolutions. Stopping Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act. What's your wishes? Councillor Wise.
Receive and support.
Seconder. Councillor Hagedorn. Any comments or questions? Ready for the vote. In favor? That's carried. Matters for information. Motion to receive matters for information. Councillor Calver, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any questions or? If not, all in favor? That's carried. Other business, statements by members. Notice of motion. Matters of urgency. Bylaws. We've got a bylaw concerning to repeal bylaw 3385/17 and to regulate excavation and temporary occupation on rights of way under the jurisdiction of the county. I need 3 readings. Councillor Wise, Councillor Davison. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Utility activity on rights of way through a municipal consent process. Got a bylaw to repeal bylaw 625/34. That's quite a while ago. Need 3 readings. Councillor Hagedorn, Councillor Richardson. All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw to confirm the proceedings. 3 readings. Councillor Calvert, Councillor Richardson. All in favor? That's carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Wise, seconded by Councillor Hagedorn. All in favor?